She didn't disappear. She was slowly pushed out by neighbors who smiled, by systems that never broke the law, and by a town that believed it was protecting itself. No screams, no crime scene, no body, just pressure, applied so quietly that even the victim began to believe leaving was her own choice. This is not a story about murder. It's about how a town erased women without ever touching them, and how one sister stayed long enough to see the system reveal itself. Maya arrived in Lakewood Falls on a quiet Tuesday afternoon, the kind of day that made nothing feel urgent. The town looked ordinary in every way that mattered. Clean sidewalks, trimmed lawns, a welcome sign near the highway that promised safety, community, and tradition. It was the kind of place people moved to when they wanted a fresh start, or when they wanted to disappear quietly. Maya hadn't come for a fresh start. She had come because her sister had vanished. Rachel had lived in Lakewood Falls for exactly 6 months. No criminal record, no history of mental illness, no financial trouble. According to the police, she had left town voluntarily. No signs of struggle, no broken locks, no missing belongings. Her car was parked neatly outside her apartment, keys still inside. Her phone had stopped transmitting one evening and never turned back on. People don't disappear like that. Maya rented a small room above an old bookstore that had closed years ago. Dust coated the windows, and the stairs creaked loudly under her feet, but the owner assured her the place was safe. "Nothing bad happens here," he said with a smile that felt practiced. That sentence followed her everywhere. The first night, Maya walked the streets after sunset. By 9:40, the town felt different. Porch lights flicked off one by one. Streets emptied. Conversations ended mid-sentence. Even the diner closed early. Chairs flipped onto tables without explanation. When Maya asked about it, people avoided eye contact. "It's just routine," they said, "helps keep things peaceful." Rachel's apartment was exactly as Maya remembered it from the photos her sister had sent months earlier. Same couch, same kitchen table. But something felt wrong. The walls were bare, no family photos, no personal clutter. It looked less like someone had moved out and more like someone had been erased. In a kitchen drawer, Maya found something the police report had never mentioned. A notebook. It wasn't a diary. There were no emotions written inside. No confessions, just lists, names, addresses, times. Some names were circled, some crossed out. Others had small question marks beside them, all women. At the bottom of the final page, one sentence stood out. "They don't force you, they convince you." Maya felt a chill settle into her chest. Rachel had known something. Something important enough to write down. Something dangerous enough to keep quiet about. As Maya sat alone in the apartment, the silence of Lakewood Falls pressed in around her. The town wasn't loud. It didn't threaten. It didn't warn. It simply watched. And Maya realized something unsettling. Rachel hadn't left behind clues because she expected to be saved. She had left them because she knew someone else might come looking. And now, that someone was here. Maya didn't sleep much that night. The notebook lay open on the small desk in her rented room. Pages spread like a quiet accusation. Names, addresses, times. The longer she stared at them, the clearer one thing became: this wasn't random. Rachel hadn't been writing out of fear. She had been documenting something systematic. By morning, Maya made a decision. She would find the women on the list. Not all of them, just enough to understand what Rachel had uncovered. Her first stop was the public library. Old computers, outdated software. The kind of place where records were kept but rarely questioned. Maya searched for the first name on the list: Emily Harper. No missing person report. No obituary. Just a forwarding address filed 6 years earlier, out of state. The next name told the same story, and the next. Every woman on Rachel's list had left Lakewood Falls within a year of moving in. No overlap, no connections on paper. Different jobs, different landlords, different neighborhoods, but the timing matched. Each departure followed the same pattern: 6 to 9 months after arrival, always after small disruptions, never with conflict loud enough to attract attention. Maya started visiting places Rachel had marked. A daycare where one woman had worked, a salon, a local clinic. She didn't ask about disappearances. She asked simple questions. Do you remember her? Why did she leave? What was she like before that? The answers followed a script. She felt uncomfortable. She thought the town wasn't a good fit. She wanted to change. No one said she was scared, but Maya noticed how people lowered their voices, how they glanced around before speaking, how conversations ended quickly, like someone might be listening. By the third day, Maya noticed something else. People were watching her. Not openly, not aggressively. Just enough to be felt. A man lingering too long near her car. A woman in the grocery store while pretending to read labels, the same face appearing twice on different streets. Pressure without confrontation. That evening, Maya returned to Rachel's apartment and examined the notebook again. This time, she focused on the symbols. Circles appeared next to women who stayed longer. Question marks next to those who resisted. Crossed out names marked women who left suddenly. Rachel hadn't been tracking victims, she had been tracking stages. Maya found a folded receipt tucked between pages. A town meeting agenda. No official title, just a room number and a time. She went. The meeting wasn't advertised. No sign on the door. Inside, 5 people sat in folding chairs, discussing zoning regulations and community balance. They spoke calmly, politely, like people who believed deeply in what they were doing. No mention of women. No mention of leaving. No mention of Rachel. But Maya understood. This town didn't remove people with force. It applied pressure everywhere at once. Employers stopped scheduling shifts. Neighbors filed noise complaints. Landlords raised rent. Church invitations stopped. Smiles disappeared. Nothing illegal, just enough discomfort to make leaving feel like relief. That night, Maya received her first message, a single line. You should be careful digging into things that don't concern you. No threat, no signature, just a reminder. Maya didn't respond. Instead, she opened Rachel's notebook one last time and realized something that made her blood run cold. Rachel's name wasn't crossed out, it was circled, meaning she hadn't left yet. She had resisted, and that meant Lakewood Falls hadn't finished with her. Not then, and maybe not now. Maya realized the pressure didn't arrive all at once. It arrived politely. The first sign came the next morning. The bookstore owner knocked on her door earlier than usual. His smile was still there, but something behind it had shifted. I'm afraid I'll need the room back sooner than expected, he said, a family matter. Maya didn't argue. She simply nodded. By noon, her phone signal weakened inside the apartment. Calls dropped. Messages sent late. When she asked her service provider, they blamed local infrastructure. That phrase again. Local infrastructure. Maya walked to the diner for lunch. The same waitress who had been friendly days earlier barely looked at her. Her order arrived wrong. Cold. When Maya pointed it out, the waitress apologized but didn't fix it. No hostility, just withdrawal. That afternoon, Maya visited Rachel's old workplace. The manager greeted her stiffly. I can't discuss former employees, he said, even though Maya hadn't asked. And I'd appreciate it if you stopped coming by. Why? Maya asked. The manager hesitated. People are uncomfortable. That word again, uncomfortable. Maya noticed the pattern now because she was inside it. Every interaction created friction. Every space felt slightly hostile. Nothing that could be reported. Nothing dramatic enough to justify a reaction. Just enough to make staying exhausting. That evening, Maya found her car ticketed for parking violations that didn't exist. The next morning, a warning notice appeared on her windshield about community standards. No signature, no explanation. When Maya returned to Rachel's apartment, she found the door unlocked. Nothing stolen. But something was different. The notebook was gone. Panic rose, but she forced herself to breathe. The town didn't steal openly. It didn't vandalize. It corrected. Maya searched the apartment carefully. On the kitchen counter, a new object sat where the notebook had been. A pamphlet. Welcome to Lakewood Falls, a community that cares. Inside were smiling faces. Volunteer programs. Neighborhood watch groups. Anonymous reporting guidelines. At the bottom, handwritten in pen. This is your warning. That night, Maya couldn't sleep. Every sound felt amplified. Footsteps outside. A car slowing near the building. Voices stopping when she passed by. She realized then what Rachel must have felt. Isolation engineered so subtly that you begin to doubt yourself. By the 4th day, Maya understood the final stage. The offer man approached her near the edge of town. Middle-aged, polite, clean-cut, someone who looked like he belonged everywhere. You don't seem happy here, he said casually. Maybe Lakewood Falls isn't what you expected. Maya stared at him. Is that a suggestion? A kindness, he replied. People who leave usually feel better afterward. And my sister. The man's smile faltered just slightly. Some people don't accept help, he said. They push back. Maya felt a surge of anger. What happens to them? The man met her eyes calmly. They're remembered as people who chose to go. That was the moment Maya knew. Rachel hadn't vanished. She had refused, and the town didn't know what to do with women who refused quietly. As the man walked away, Maya made her decision. She would not leave, and she would stop playing defense. If Lakewood Falls wanted silence, Maya would give it the one thing the system couldn't handle: exposure. Maya stopped asking questions. That alone changed everything. She didn't visit offices anymore. She didn't knock on doors. She didn't mention Rachel's name. To the town, it looked like she had finally understood the message. But silence was the wrong signal, because when the pressure stopped working, the system adjusted. 2 days passed without incident. No warnings, no strange looks, no dropped calls. Lakewood Falls returned to normal, the kind of calm that exists only when something is being prepared. Maya used that quiet. She revisited public records late at night, accessing archived town council minutes that no one had touched in years. Not crime reports, not police files. Zoning approvals, community safety grants, neighborhood stability initiatives. Different names, same handwriting, same 5 signatures. They appeared everywhere quietly, authorizing programs that sounded harmless. Tenant reviews, employment verification networks, anonymous concern reporting. A framework not to remove people, to identify who could be pushed. Maya realized something else that night. Rachel's notebook wasn't taken to silence her. It had been taken to measure damage, which meant Rachel's work still existed somewhere. The next morning, Maya found the answer waiting for her. An envelope slid under her door. No stamp, no return address. Inside was a key and a note. Since you won't leave, you might as well understand. The address led her to a building just outside town limits. An old municipal structure marked for demolition but still powered. Maya entered just before dusk. Inside, the air smelled of dust and disinfectant. The lights were on. 5 people waited. They didn't pretend anymore. They spoke plainly. "We protect the town." One of them said. "We reduce instability." Another added, "We intervene before problems become visible." Maya asked the question that had burned since the beginning. And the women? A pause. They were variables. The oldest man replied calmly, unattached, new, hard to predict. And Rachel? Silence again. She noticed patterns. A woman finally said. That made her unpredictable. Maya felt her hands tremble, but her voice stayed steady. "So you pushed her out?" The man shook his head slowly. "No." Rachel refused to go. That was when Maya understood. The town didn't disappear. Women. It erased them socially until they had nowhere left to exist. Rachel hadn't vanished. She had been isolated beyond visibility. "Where is she?" Maya asked. The answer came quietly. "Somewhere she can't cause disruption." Maya felt cold spread through her chest. "You can't keep this hidden forever," she said. The oldest man smiled, almost kindly. "We already have," he said, "for decades." Then he made the offer. "You can stay," he told Maya. "Finish what your sister started, but correctly. Or you can leave tonight and be remembered as someone who chose to move on." Maya thought of Rachel, of the notebook, of the women who left believing it was their idea. She stood. "I'm not here to negotiate," she said. As she turned to leave, one of them spoke again. "You should know," he said calmly. "People who expose systems like ours don't disappear. They're dismissed." Maya smiled faintly. "That's fine," she said. "Dismissed things have a way of being found again." She walked out into the night, knowing one truth with absolute certainty. The system had revealed itself, and it had underestimated her. Maya didn't expose the system the way people expect. There was no dramatic press conference, no leaked files dropped overnight, no accusations shouted into cameras. She understood something the town understood very well. Loud moves attract attention. Quiet ones change outcomes. Maya left Lakewood Falls the next morning. That was intentional. She let the town believe it had worked, that the pressure, the warnings, the meeting in the building outside town limits had finally pushed her out. Her landlord watched her load the car. The diner waitress nodded politely. The town exhaled. They assumed the story was over. But Maya didn't disappear. She relocated to a city where Rachel had once made a short stop years earlier. Something Maya only realized after rechecking old travel receipts buried in the notebook the town hadn't found copies of. Because Maya had already sent them. Every scan, every photograph, every journal page. Not to the media. 2 places the system couldn't quietly influence. University researchers studying social displacement, nonprofit legal teams specializing in coercive control, data analysts who track patterns instead of incidents. Months passed, nothing happened, and then subtle changes began. A grant proposal in Lakewood Falls was denied without explanation. A regional audit flagged unusual resident turnover. A community trust quietly lost its tax-exempt status. No accusations, just questions. The kind systems hate Maya stayed invisible while others did the noticing. While reports were written in neutral language, while patterns were graphed instead of stories told. Because once something becomes data, it stops being dismissible. One evening, nearly a year later, Maya received an email from an encrypted address. It contained a single sentence. "She's alive." Rachel had surfaced through a network supporting women who had experienced coordinated social displacement. She had crossed state lines years earlier under another name. She hadn't been imprisoned. She had been erased. Rachel didn't want to return. She didn't want revenge. She wanted distance and safety. Maya respected that. Lakewood Falls still exists. No one was arrested. No one went to prison. There was no single villain to point at. But the town changed. Neighborhood reporting systems were dismantled. Anonymous complaints required accountability. Community stability programs were rewritten. Quietly, the same way they had once been built. Maya never went back. She didn't need to, because the most important thing she learned wasn't how the system worked. It was why it survived. Not because people were cruel, but because they believed they were protecting something fragile. Order, predictability, comfort, and anyone who disrupted that even gently became a problem to solve. Rachel wasn't the first. She was simply one of the few who survived long enough to leave. Maya keeps the notebook now, not as evidence, as a reminder that violence doesn't always bruise skin, that disappearance doesn't require force, and that the most dangerous systems are the ones that convince you they're helping. Some towns bury their secrets underground. Others let them walk away and hope no one ever follows the pattern far enough to notice. This case was never officially opened, but it was never closed either. It simply stopped needing silence.